Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking you through how I set up Football Manager 2024, right from the very start, all the way through to playing the first match of the season. Hopefully take about an hour or so. If it tends, or something like it's taking too long, I may split it down to two parts, but I'm just going to talk you through how I set up the game, from selecting leagues to how I select kind of the amount of players in the league, why I set it up like that. It's not a kind of how to do it, it's more how I do it. Like I always say, Football Manager's the game for everyone who play it differently, depending on how involved you want to get with it. So this is my setup all the way through from start to before I start the season. So when you first load up, you may see a screen similar to this. I'm using the Tato 24 skin, so yours may look slightly different depending if you've chosen a skin or you're using the standard Football Manager skin itself. But the screen will be the same. So here, I'm just going to start a new game. Different modes. Career mode is just the usual standard mode. Where create a club, online career, fantasy draft, and versus. So we're just going to click on career. What I would always recommend is do not choose a team from this tab. Just pick team later. That gives you a few more options. And you may not decide who you want to pick anyway. So pick team later. We'll go to choose game mode. Up here, we'll tell you the latest database you're using. I don't think it's updated yet. I think there's one due to come out shortly with all the winter transfer updates in. I think I'm going to say 24.2 at some point. I'm not sure, but again, anything you've added here, any extras, anything like that, the database will show up in here. I've got a colours pack in there as well. But it makes any updates will appear here. It should update automatically through Steam. So it's going to go right ahead and choose game mode. I always just choose the original game mode. I'm not one for change, and I know the other one's real world. As it says there, players will start at the clubs they were with at the start date of this career. They will then move to their new club on the same date they did in real life as a career progresses. So if you start a club in July and the club made transfers of certain players in August before the transfer window closed, they will just join on the date that you did in real time. Your world is quite similar to that, except the players won't join. So you'll probably start with the original budgets the club had. No players will join the club. So it gives you freedom to kind of do whatever you want. So if you join a team who spent 200 million on transfers that you thought were rubbish, your chance to take over and spend that money how you would see fit. But I'm just going to start with the original mode. Again, avoid using quick start. I want to go to advanced setup. So come to this screen, you can see 3 or 4 leagues already selected in there. I've already got the one set up, so I'm going to load that up, call it Ultimate. And I'll load that up and talk you through how I've got this set up. So you see, I pretty much ticked every league you can possibly see. Majority of them are on view only. So I'll quickly talk about how I set up certain leagues. Sometimes I don't know where or which club I want to choose. Sometimes I have an idea in my mind if I want to do a journeyman, if I just want to do a one-team long-term save. So sometimes I just don't know, and I want to have a little look around and see if a team just jumps out that I fancy playing in. So what I tend to do is I pick about 6 or 7 leagues. I tend to know where I want to go. I may want to stay in England, Spain, Germany, France. So what I tend to do is I'll just pick all the leagues in that nation that I may end up playing in. So for example, I pick about 6 or 7. That one, that could change if you're only Irish. I tend to keep that on if I'm playing in the English league, just to give you a few more kind of players I'll be able to scout. But generally I have an idea where I want to go. So I've got the Bundesliga, all 3 leagues. If I do know where I want to go specifically, so if I know I want to play in the English league, maybe the Championships, and pick Sunderland, what I will do is I will then go kind of back to all the other leagues, the France, and I'll just bring that down to maybe 1 or 2 divisions in that league, just to help kind of the speed of the match engine. So for this example, I'm thinking maybe we'll just kind of go to a team in England. So maybe I'll choose a Championship. I'll choose my team, Sunderland. this time. So what I'll do is I'll just go through all the other leagues I've got. I'll just reduce them down to maybe like 1 or 2 divisions in that league. I'll do France, Serie C in Italy. I'll take that maybe Serie B. Just take a few more leagues off. Help the match engine kind of be a little bit quicker. If I was to do a journeyman, what I'd not tend to do is, say if I'm doing one in Europe, I would maybe pick, for example, starting in Poland. So I'll pick Poland, maybe the Czech leagues, a few around there, kind of the area, pick as many as I can, start the game, and I may take 1 or 2 off. I always like, if I'm playing in Europe, like to have the big 6 in. I think it keeps the Champions League kind of running a little bit better, and you get kind of a lot more realistic Champions League, European kind of cups. I believe, like I said, I haven't really tested it, just kind of I picked up on what I've heard. So again, things like the Dutch League, I'll just bring that down to Eredivisie only. Scottish one as well, maybe the Cinch Championship and above, just to kind of help the match engine. Like I say, if I'm doing a journeyman, probably pick like a lot of leagues, just give me that option to maybe pick a lesser known club in whatever league I end up in. And then what I may do is just take 3 or 4 out as the season starts. Now, the journeyman, you tend to obviously go to bigger clubs as you move on, so I'll keep again the big 6 European leagues in. So that's how I kind of work out my leagues, if you like. So I tend to have about 6 or 7. Again, that probably depends more on the spec of your PC. I think I'm running a kind of what you might call a mid-range PC. I've got a lot of RAM, stuff like that. So for me, I find that kind of runs kind of okay. 6 or 7 leagues. Got personal preference. Like I said, I've said in previous videos, people like to blast through leagues, get 6 or 7 leagues in as quick as possible. Seasons. I tend to just kind of, I don't mind if it takes me 5-6 days to do a season. I get on the computer as and when I can. People have their own time scales, their own kind of amount of time they can spend on it. So personal preference. People like to get a lot more involved in what they do with FM. Like I said before, some people decide to get through the leagues, the season as fast as possible, and kind of play it that way. It's all pure personal preference. But that's tend to how I set up my leagues. Kind of player-wise, you can see here that I've got literally just under 500,000 players. What I tend to do, if you go up to here, custom database, go to advanced, and you'll see I've pretty much selected every single continent, and I've just ticked every single box. If you're the kind of football manager player that likes to kind of scout around the world, get every kind of single one kid that is available, this is the best setup. And for me personally, I don't really see a drop in performance. Like I say, I play the game at a slower pace anyway. For me, this just works. I believe maybe the amount of leagues you choose may reduce the speed, but this is, if you're a player like say, scout the world, every single one kid you could possibly find, and this is the setup. Basically, just go through every kind of continent, check everything, and you're going to have a huge database of players. And like I say, it is half a star there, but I find the game runs fairly smooth, fairly quick, to be honest with you. And like I say, I only play on so many times a night, and it takes me maybe a week to get through a season, I suppose. But if you like to play the game a little bit faster, by all means, just reduce that down. Maybe just select European and maybe South American, things like that. But this is how I play it. This is how I set it up, and I personally don't see a huge, massive difference because of the way I play the game. Down at the bottom, I tend not to touch this too much. I have that do not add key stuff ticked. If I'm doing a really low league save, I've added like 11th tier database in the English leagues. I may kind of uncheck that just to help the team get built up. Or if I'm in a really obscure, maybe Asian league, I may do the same just to make sure that you've got the kind of enough players in the squad, enough staff, just to make the game a little bit more playable. But more often than not, I'll have to leave that checked. I will disable the first transfer window on a lot of saves. The save I'm currently doing with saving Schalke, I did just that. Completely forgot I didn't mind, and then start talking about transfers. But yeah, this adds a little bit more realism. If you're starting the season and you play the original way, transfers are already done. So I tend to check that and wait till January to make transfers. So it adds a little bit more realism, a little bit more kind of difficulty as well in certain instances. So this is my general setup. I find it works for me. Like I said, mess around with it if you haven't maybe got the quickest of PCs. But I mean, bear in mind, I played this on a gaming laptop as well, exactly the same way. I found it ran pretty much the same, to be perfectly honest with you. I've got a bit more RAM in the PC I'm using now. And if you are interested, I'll put the specs of the PC in the description at some point if anyone's interested in what I am actually using. But yeah, I find this works well, really well for me. It takes a while to load up initially, but once it's all up and running, absolutely no problems. So what we'll do from here then, we'll pick our start date. I am going to go into the English leagues anyway, just for the example. So I'll keep that as the early pre-season, and we'll just go ahead and start the game. You'll see this one sign coming up saying I've selected 106 leagues from 53 nations, etc. Like I say, I probably would keep scrolling down to the leagues I've selected, and for example, I've got every single league in Spanish. I'll just take up to the second division. I'll just keep doing that on whatever I've got selected, but I think that should be okay now. So we'll start game and wait for that to load up. If you do find any of this information useful, please drop a like, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment down below as well if there's anything that you would do differently. I think you can add any tips, but be greatly appreciated. So all that's loaded in now, what you'll be faced with this manager screen. This is kind of where you create your profile. This is how you add your face. You can either start, and obviously I've already got one created. I can start a new profile where I can, again, do everything I want with my character, if you like. Change what I wear, change the look, etc., etc. Let's go back to mine here. But like I say, that's the screen you go to, new profile. You probably, if it's the first time you played it, it'll take that straight to that option to create a character, create your manager, obviously kind of mold them into your likeness, if you like. So yeah, this is what I'm left with here. So I'm going to use this profile, moving straight on. And this is the part of the screen where you pick the team that you're going to manage to take over. Like I said before, previously, don't pick a club now. This is where you select your club. So as you can see, click on that. Everyone highlighted in white is the league that I made playable. So for this purpose, we are going to stay in England, into the Championship. I'll scroll down to my club, Sunderland. And I think what I'll do is we'll go through this, how I set up, and I think I'll continue it on. I did a kind of like little how I do, should we say, in my Save and Shelter save, which is on my channel there, into the second episode. But this can be a little bit more in depth. So I may continue this on into how I maybe pick a tactic, how I set up my training, how I set up everything before I start the season. My kind of guide, if you like. And this is purely how I do it. I'm not telling people how to play it. Like I've said many a time, people play it differently. This is just kind of how I do it. So we're going to select Sunderland here. Gives you kind of an overview of the team itself. You can also click on it, view the squad, give an idea of maybe what you're dealing with. Like I say, this is my local club, so I kind of know a lot about these players and the club itself. So I don't know what I'm letting myself in for. If I was a beginner, my advice would be maybe pick a club that you are familiar with, maybe your hometown club. It helps with maybe building a tactic if you already know how they play. Good starting point if you're not kind of familiar with football manager tactics or teams in general. Really get you into the game if you already know a lot about the club, how they play, where players play. So really good head start. So I'm just going to go ahead now, click on Add Manager. Obviously, you can have a little browse through these if you kind of decide on how to take over the club, so you can kind of look at the overview. Like I say, this is the Taylor24 skin. Fantastic skin. I've been using this for a couple of years now. Really love it. Gives you a good overview. Current manager is Tony Mowbray. Slightly outdated, but obviously the new update hasn't come up yet. This is the beginning of last season. Jack Clark, key player. Fantastic player on a fantastic season currently. And hot prospect, young Chris Rigg. But yeah, gives you an overview, previous titles, finances. So you kind of already know what you're heading into. Great to have a look at the facilities, see what you're dealing with. Superb training facilities, fairly solid youth recruitment, academy coaching, excellent youth facilities. So a great club to take over if you want to maybe do kind of a youth only or what you would maybe call a kind of youth to goal kind of thing. So all I want to do is add manager. I already know this is the club I want to take over. Gives you a little kind of overview of the board culture as well, always worth reading. Signed players under the age of 23. So it gives you an idea of what the board already want you to do, what you're kind of heading into, style of football they want to play, high tempo pressing football, develop players using the club's youth system, and the supporters want pretty much the same. Develop players using the club's youth system and high tempo pressing football. So I'm just going to click on, it's going to take me to the managerial style. Again, this is quite subjective, depends on how you want to play the game. A lot of people kind of maybe want to click on that for Sunderland, and that brings down to that level. You start with a continental A license, professional football's experience. You can obviously just take that to the full max, continental pro, and international global level. And I'll probably recommend this if you are a beginner. Gives you kind of full attributes, kind of fulfillment on both sides. In the game, you've got presets here. If you want to be a youth development, you click on that, and that'll kind of set that up for you. Tactician, again, tactical maxed out, mentals maxed out. Really good at attacking and defending coach. That's going to help you with your training side of things. If you were maybe doing a journeyman, you started with nothing, so you were literally maybe no coaching badges, Sunday league footballer. As you can see, left with very minimal. My advice would maybe to bring all that kind of down low, maybe pick something like fitness. Because you'd probably be part-time. Your players won't be training full-time. So when you do get to train them twice a week, you really want to focus maybe on fitness. Again, on this side, mental attributes, maybe depending on where you're starting. If you're starting abroad and you want to kind of move around the world, start with maybe a high adaptability. Helps you get them other jobs in other countries. If you're starting in maybe the UK, like a lower league database, you can maybe leave that off and maybe go for something like determination if you want to influence, or maybe motivation, things like that. Certainly probably determination. You want to maybe just try to influence the board, get kind of training upgraded, things like that as you move kind of up the leagues. Maybe people management, something along them lines where adaptability is not that important. You may be starting 11th tier of the English kind of leagues and want to move your way up. So just like I say, things to kind of think about there. I'm going to start with the Continental Pro, international global level. What I tend to do is I tend to have these maxed out as much as possible. I'm not too bothered about fitness. I can get a good fitness coach. But I want to be kind of good at coaching, attacking, defending, good mentals. I want to be not too bothered goalkeeper. So I'll just transfer that all over. Max them out. Good technicals. Again, not too fussed about being a good set piece coach. But I want good working with youngsters. That'll help me when I'm coaching the under 18s or the under 23s to bring on kind of youth development. Max out my technicals. Like I say, that's left me with still a good few points. So I'll probably just put that into something like fitness. So pre-season, maybe help out with a little bit of fitness training, although still only on rating 6, so it's not too great. On this side again, because I'm starting the UK, I'm not too bothered about adaptability. I'm not going to go anywhere. So I'll push that over onto motivation, level of discipline, people management. Again, not overly bothered about player knowledge really, to be honest. So bring that down a bit, or youngster knowledge in fact. And I'll push that up to determination. And just talk about people management. That's kind of my setup. I'll probably bring this down a little bit more, maybe top that up, but I think that's a good balance for me, I think. I know it's kind of set the tactician there, and I've kind of changed it, but I'll probably set that to general and just do this anyway. So that's pretty much how I set up my manager attributes. Like I say, it will change if I do a journeyman. I'll have nothing, as I explained before. Again, subjective, depending on how you want to play the game. I just find this is best for me. If I'm starting on maxed out kind of Continental Pro license and global level experience. And if I was a recommendation for a beginner, that's what I would start on. Because it gives you the best start. It helps your players develop a lot better as well. You're kind of a good coach. And that's kind of how I set up. So again, just press confirm, start playing. So once all that's loaded up, you'll be faced with this screen. Congratulate you on getting the job. And obviously his eyebrows are being raised. You obviously kind of don't know you, inexperienced. So what I probably will do, I'll probably leave it here now. Hopefully it's give you a few ideas on maybe how to set up your saves. If you've got something from it, please drop a like, subscribe. It really does help the channel. I am just starting out, so any little help and feedback would be fantastic as well. Drop a comment in the box if you would do things differently, if you found things don't work quite like I've said, or if you have any other ideas how you make maybe the game run a bit quicker with more leagues, or you just tend to find that you use less leagues. Drop a comment in, get kind of a chat going, and hopefully build up a kind of a little community where share ideas and hopefully people get more out of the game. So I probably will leave this here now. I will do a part 2, kind of going forward of how I build a tactic, training, and things like that, all the way up to kind of starting the first game of the season. Before I even kind of click on kind of the next button at the top, there's a series of things I'll do. I did touch on it on my save shelter save, so I've got a little bit more depth here for people just starting out the game. Like I've just said before, it's not a how to do it, it's how I do it. The game is like say it's fantastic. It gives people options to play it however they want, and that's the way it should be, to be honest with you. But hopefully you've got some something out of it. Like I say, kind of why I'm doing this for. So that's part 1 done for now. I'll see you guys soon.